Back at MMAOddsBreaker, I'm Frank Trigg. Today we're talking to Jordan Mean. Get ready to face off with Mike Pyle, UFC Fight Night. But that, of course, was not your first opponent.
No. Few changes.
Go ahead.
Few changes. Brandon Thatch was the last, and originally it was supposed to be Thiago Alves, but some things got switched around, and that's, I mean, you know how it is, the fight game. It's always last minute, and that's the way it plays out this time. But you know, usually I'm the one that's doing the last minute jump in, so it's whatever. I'm glad Mike Pyle got a fight too, because Damian's out. So if my guy wouldn't have fought, then Mike would have been out. So I'm glad. I know Mike, and I'm sure he wants to fight as well. So it's good.
Was it tough for you getting ready for 3 different opponents during this training camp?
Not really, because I don't really invest my energy into each guy so much. I'm just investing my time into making my game better everywhere. I don't really watch video that much. I don't really I've obviously know who Mike Pyle is. I know who Brandon Thatch is. I know who Thiago Alves is because I'm a fan of the sport and I'm watching every fight. So I know what they look like and I know their styles, but I don't really get too involved in what they're doing or really because things like this can happen. It can change like this. If I would have invested all my time into one guy, it can change up. But that's just what I'm feeling right now.
Is it from your standpoint and from knowing these guys as a fan? How do you see Mike Pyle being different than the other 2 guys you're supposed to meet up with, Alves and Thatch?
I think he's a little bit more dangerous on the ground. That's for sure. He's more crafty. There are a lot, trickier submissions. His guards really well. He plays like a high guard and does the whole triangle setups and whatnot. And he's got the experience. Thiago Alves does as well, but he's got a ton of experience. So,
and you guys talking about experience, though. You have a ton of experience too, even though you're only 24. I mean, you look at you're 29-8. Excuse me, 28-9 versus Mike's 26-9-1. You have more fights than Mike does. Well, one more fight than Mike does at this point, and he's a lot older than you. And obviously, we've talked about before in other interviews how I started really young and we're very active. And you like to be active in the past, but the UFC doesn't keep you as active just because the how many fighters they have to keep getting fights for. If you had best case scenario, and you're the champ of the weight class, 170, you beat Johnny Hendricks, and now you're the champ of the weight class. As the champ, how many times a year would you want to fight?
It really depends on how healthy you are. The reason why I was out for a year because of a knee injury, so it really depends on how healthy I am. If I'm healthy, I want to be in there, 4 or 5 times a year. So that's huge for me, right? That's huge for your bank account. That's huge for the library of fights that you can put on and put on, pay-per-view events and whatnot. But it all depends on your health. We see fighters drop out all the time. I mean, just recently Jones and Cormier had a big packed out, but yeah, it changes all the time.
Well, let me ask you about that Jones-Cormier thing. Do you think Jones has been, since the Gustafsson fight, he's had to pull out a lot of fights since he lost that or won that very close decision. He got hurt really, really bad in that fight. We all know it. We saw him get banged up, but he found the wherewithal to come back and win the fight. But since then, he's had to postpone and push back several fights in a row. Do you think Jones has been changed because of that fight? Do you think, as a fan of the sport, like you said, do you think that Jones is a different fighter now than he was before Gustafsson?
Yeah, I think better because what we saw in that fight is him get hurt and overcome that and still show that he was a true champion. You know what I mean? He put it on him and came after him. It's too bad he got hurt for this Cormier fight. I'm a huge fan of Cormier and what he's done. Just his single leg chain that he puts together there is unbelievable, and I don't think anybody can stop that. But I would have liked to see that fight because the range and the distance and whatnot, and the little scuffle they had. The press conference was pretty exciting. Everybody likes to see some entertainment like that. And Jones had a little cut over his eye and had the bandage up. But who knows if that's why he was, he said he got injured in training, but maybe it was the press conference that hurt his knee, and then he came back and maybe realized, oh, I'm a little injured here. I need to take a break. So who knows? But that's why those things are exciting, because it gives the fans something to be skeptical about.
We have to, the fight doesn't go off until January. Right now, who are you picking, Jones or Cormier?
Oh, I want to say Jones just from. I think he's just gonna use that lead side kick and just kick the crap out of Cormier's knees and run, and just kick, and jab. And he says he's gonna wrestle with him, but I think the first few rounds will just be him jabbing at his knee with his lead leg.
Staying outside and staying away. That's kind of what I thought as well. But I think that Cormier catches that leg and puts him on the ground.
Yeah.
Kicks him. But you know, that's the good thing about this fight is that we get to talk about it until January now. We get to make up our own minds.
Yeah.
This fight for me, for you with Mike Pyle, you beat Mike Pyle. Where does it put you in the 170-pound rankings? What do you think it's gonna do for you? And remember, I come from that standpoint. There's 3 rankings. There's the official rankings. There's the fan ranking, and there's a UFC ranking. And the UFC will do whatever they want to with you, depending on how well you fight, how well you look, and what they need at that point. We've all seen guys that don't deserve title shots get title shots because they just happen to be at the right place at the right time. So with that being said, how do you think this fight with Mike, you beat Mike, what happens to you?
I think I can go right back to fighting another top guy like maybe Thiago Alves if he's healthy, get that fight again, get another co-main event, put that under my belt again, and stay right up there at the top. Why go back? I'm going to be the co-main event and I'm going to win and it's going to feel great and I want to stay right there.
Is there another fight on this card? And I know it's tough for you because you are such a fan of the sport, but you're also the co-main event where you're not going to be able to watch these other fights. The only fight you can be able to watch really is Henderson and Dos Anjos, and that's only if you get back in the locker room fast enough. It's one of those situations where after you get done with the docs and the post-fight interviews, you might not even be able to watch that fight either, so you might miss the whole card. But if you could watch the card, besides your fight, which other fight on here are you really interested in watching? You
know what? Like you said, the one I'm going to be able to watch, possibly anyways, the Henderson and Dos Anjos. I'm a huge Henderson fan, and watching him perform is always a treat, and just what he brings to the table. And Dos Anjos is a tough dude. He's always coming to scrap. He's got quick counter punching. The guy comes in, he's got that uppercut hook. So that's dangerous for Henderson. But I think Henderson's going to use his long kicks. And there's going to be a strength difference, I think. I think Henderson's going to take it. Yeah,
I give Henderson a nod on that one as well. He just, in that fight, it's a fight night, but it's well worthy. They try to tone down the fight nights a little bit versus the pay-per-view, but this fight night has got a bunch of great fights on it. Of course, I'm a big Max Holloway fan because I spend so much time in Hawaii, so obviously I want to see him in Rashad. And then, of course, Wilson Reese and Tim Elliott is another interesting matchup for me, but of course Ben Saunders is back in the game and finally back at the UFC, so I kind of want to see him fight as well. So there's a lot of good fights on this card that I'm kind of interested in. Of course, yours being one of them, being the co-main event. Is there any added pressure being the co-main event other than the fact that now the pressure is to do well this fight, so you can be co-main event next fight as well?
I don't think so because I think pressure's just kind of made up. It's not really a real thing. It's just if I want to decide that this is a big moment in my life, then I can make it that way. If I decide that it's not, then it's not going to be. So that's how I feel anyway. That's what my beliefs are. So it's the same. Everything's the exact same, and I'm glad that my name can be up there, my face can be on that poster because that's where I belong and that's what I deserve. So I'm happy for that. That's for sure.
There's Jordan Mean getting ready to fight Mike Pyle come up here in UFC Fight Night, Henderson versus Dos Anjos, August 23rd in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Jordan, thanks for coming on here. I appreciate it. I know it's winding down camp for you, so I appreciate taking a couple of minutes with us here. We'll talk to you soon.
You bet. Thanks, Frank. Good talking to you.